A haunted home is a common theme in the horror world, Amityville Horror being probably the most famous example. But however common, it always gets us because home is supposed to be our safest and most private place, and the idea of it being invaded by forces beyond our control and comprehension is truly unnerving. Yet another element there is also sadly realistic one. As with most other populous and highly industrialized countries, housing market is on a huge bubble in Korea. Buying a house or a flat is the biggest investment for most ordinary people, and just thinking it being undermined by paranormal phenomena would be absolutely terrible, not least because the financial loss such an unforeseen disaster could cause. As for young students and adults on the tight budget, their quest for the cheapest rental property can sometimes end up with the rooms that are cheap because nobody wanted it, for a good reason. Today we are taking a look at stories about houses and rooms that come with an unwanted co-inhabitants. 5 allegedly true stories from Korea about haunted homes. As always, handpicked, translated and narrated by your host, Anthony. Back in 1999, I was in the final year of vocational high school. As usually the case for such a school, I was sent out to make a real-life experience as an apprentice in the industrial town of Ansan. The workplace offered a dormitory, but I wanted independence and found myself lodging at a 4-storied old red brick house. There were only 1 bathroom on each floor and had to share it with other lodgers. Being let free at that immature age, my room became a playground of a sort. Colleagues from work constantly in and out and drinking parties night after night. One Saturday, I had some appointment in Seoul and was about to leave when I got a call from an older colleague. He wanted to come around with his girlfriend and was obviously disappointed that I wasn't going to be here. I wasn't so naive and told him not to waste his money getting a room for himself and his girlfriend, but just come around and use my room. That I would put the key under the doormat for him. I came back from Seoul the following day to find a colleague and his girlfriend in my room, all red-eyed and out of mind. I teased him, "What, you didn't sleep at all? God, young horny lovers, eh?" But the colleague said, "It's not that. This room, there's something here," and started to explain what was up last night. So they lied on the mattress to sleep. I had no bed frame but just mattress on the floor. The only other furniture in the room was a clothes hanger that came with the room at the foot of the mattress. Then he heard some swishing noise as if somebody walked past him. He thought it might be his girlfriend going out to use the toilet, but when he looked around, she was still next to him. Odd, but whatever. He started to doze off again, when he heard the same noise, this time coming back in the room. He was sure somebody got into the room, perhaps a thief. He sprang up shouting, "Who's there?" which of course woke his girlfriend too. And they both saw a woman sitting on the edge of the mattress, looking towards the clothes hanger, constantly sobbing and mumbling something to herself. Whether it was really that they saw it or just happened to have exactly the same dream, they could not remember what happened afterwards, but woke up in each other's arms in the morning. I laughed and mocked them. What a BS dream you had! What, a ghost was lamenting towards my clothes? And then I pushed the hanger off the corner. There, hidden behind the clothes were little scribbles in red pen.
Mommy is so sorry. I'm sorry, baby. I'm so sorry.
When I was in my late 20s, I worked as a security staff of a large factory. The employer provided the accommodation for the staffs, which was new and large. Not long after moving in, I started to get sleep paralysis repeatedly, regardless of day or night. And whenever that happened, I saw two young kids slipping out of the wardrobe and playing around up and down the hallway that linked to the kitchen. From the voices and vibes, I assumed one was a girl and the other a boy. They never approached me or bothered me, but just played among themselves, giggling joyously. For the first few times I was spooked, but I eventually got used to it. They were more cute than scary after all, and half-heartedly accepted them as bizarre roommates. One day a few colleagues came over to my room to have a drink together. I got to talk about the apparition of the kids and commented, "Aren't ghosts supposed to be scary? They're just cute, isn't it funny?" I think I further made some jokes about them, and my colleagues also laughed along, mildly amused. Not long after, I took a nap on my day off. I somehow felt a little bit chilly for some reason, so I was sleeping instinctively crouched in the fetal position. I opened my eyes for the creaking noise of the wardrobe door crack opening. Before I could lift my head to see what made the noise, I found myself paralyzed, which was particularly severe this time. From my position, all I could see was the floor of the room, and I just helplessly mourned. From one end of my vision, a girl walked out of the wardrobe, soaked wet from head to toe, dripping water from her dress, and her wet hair all stuck on the face. The wet steps approached me slowly and kneeled down right in front. From my position, I could not see the whole face, but just about up to her nose. The deadly pale face and dark blue lips were already enough to frighten me. In a desperate attempt to wake up from the paralysis, I started biting the inside of my cheek. I could see the corner of the girl's blue lips lifting. I was now well panicking. Next moment, her smile was gone, and she started tilting her head like an owl, slowly revealing her full face, till her black holes of eyes met mine. I could just silently scream. To my reaction, her smile came back, and she said,
Am I scary enough now?
I don't consider myself to have any paranormal sensitivity. I have never felt or saw anything unusual to this day, except for this one time. My family used to live in the rented flat on the hillside. It wasn't in the best part of the town, but the landlord was kind, and we lived there for about 4 years without much issues. And it was one summer day, not long before the date we were to move out. When summer heat got unbearable, my family used to abandon our bedrooms and slept together in the living room. For the building was sitting on the hill, we could at least get some breeze from the balcony door that way. So that night, we were all sleeping in the living room, I woke up in the middle of the night. In my groggy state, I saw a man standing in front of the balcony, looking out. I just thought it should be my dad. He was the only man in the family, so it was simply logical. So I just closed my eyes and went back to sleep. Next morning, I was confused to find Dad wasn't home. Apparently, he had to cover somebody's night shift and didn't even come home at all. I realized what I saw the night before wasn't a human. But I wasn't too scared because I didn't feel any evil energy or ill intention from him. And we were to move out of the flat soon anyway. A few days later, as we were having ice cream in the market, I casually mentioned what I saw to my mom. Mom is a skeptic and never cares much about paranormals, so I wondered if Mom would find my story amusing or scary. Instead, her reaction was, "Dear, so that was indeed a ghost. I think I saw him too." A few more days further back, we were as usual sleeping all together in the living room. In the middle of the night, Mom felt somebody hugging her round from her back. Assuming it to be Dad, she turned around towards him and was faced by his back. In her drowsy mind, she didn't notice anything off, and she just went back to sleep. And only the next morning she realized it didn't make sense. We couldn't be 100% sure, but our descriptions of the guy we saw seemed to match. It was enough to prompt me to call my younger sister. Unlike I or Mom, she often saw weird things, like a mangled body of a ghost under the street lamp post, a shadow crawling over the ceiling on all fours, or a ghostly face hiding between the chorus members on the stage. I've heard her such stories from childhood, so I expected she should know already about this male ghost too. I didn't explain any details but dropped straight, "I think I saw a ghost at home." And with no hesitation, her reply was, "Ah, you mean the man?" Her only surprise was that I, normally showing no sign of paranormal sensitivity, had seen it too. "I don't think he's a baddie though. He was just quietly looking out," I said. Then my sister explained why she disliked the man. One night she woke up from her sleep with a sense of chill. She found the ghost lying right next to her, chanting the same thing time after time with a creepy voice. "Die. Die. Die. Die." I was a bit worried if he wouldn't follow us as we moved out, but fortunately I didn't see him again in the new place. It's a story my teacher from middle school told us in the class. When he was a uni student, he had a friend who lived in a flat by himself. Of course, his flat became the playground for his buddies. One day the teacher once again visited a friend. His flat was on the 6th floor, so he took the lift. It stopped at the 2nd floor, but nobody was there when the door opened. Well, whatever. The teacher lounged about with his friend, drinking lots. Time was already into the late night, and they decided to get some fresh air. They took the lift down, which again stopped at the 2nd floor. But this time, There was something waiting, all right. 2 hazy white figures which floated into the lift. They passed through the teacher and his friend and stood behind them. The lights in the lift flickered and it started going up, not down. Teacher glimpsed the mirror on the side wall and saw the true horror of those figures. Their faces had melted down and black like a severe burn victim, and the acrid smell of burnt flesh. Both he and his friend fainted, and only later found out by the concierge. The concierge told them that there was a fire in the flat on the 2nd floor, and that killed 2 sisters who lived there. And since then, residents of the flat block started reporting seeing the ghosts. It got so prevalent that almost every resident had seen them at least once, and people started moving out. And that was how the rent price fell so low that the unsuspecting tenant like the teacher's friend could move in. The town I used to live in as a child was practically a countryside. So my family was all pretty excited when we had a good chance to move into a flat in the first high-rise flat block in the town. Despite some rumor that it was built on a graveyard. Such was anyway not uncommon at the height of building bubble. But things weren't well in the spanking new place. Mom wasn't well from the day one. I can still clearly remember her dark circles coming all the way down to her chin. As for me, I started seeing 2 black shadows of guys roaming all around my home. I was too young to know that wasn't normal, and just observed them half amused. They would sometimes get some fresh air at the balcony, play little games in the living room, stare at my mom sitting right next to her, or quarrel amongst themselves in the kitchen. One day I was coming back from a corner shop. There was nobody home as my parents were still at work and my older brother was out to play football with his friends. But when I looked up at the balcony of my flat, which was easy to recognize because there was my favorite swim ring in gaudy bright colors hanging, there was a man standing. I just assumed my dad must have come home early and excitedly called out, "Daddy!" The figure on the balcony didn't answer to that, but just beckoned me as if telling me to come quicker. I ran back up to find the flat empty. Yet another evening, my parents were out on some occasion. Into the night, brother went to bed first, and I was hanging around by myself. In the prized spot of the living room was a chunky CRT TV, the old-fashioned one before the flat screens. And behind the TV appeared a guy, and told me to hug the TV. Young and foolish, I did as I was told. It was so chunky my arms could hardly wrap around the front side. I looked up at the guy expecting some compliment or approval. Instead, he pushed the TV to my side, and I went under the TV. If you know these old CRT TV, you should also know how heavy they are. Under its sheer weight, I could hardly breathe or scream. Fortunately, the loud noise of it tumbling down woke my brother up, and he ran to my rescue, but it was too heavy even for my brother. I don't remember what happened afterwards. When I got around, I was in the arms of my mom with teary eyes. Yet another day. As usual, I was the first to come home. I turned on the lights in the dark flat, dropped my school bag, and, of course, went straight to turn on the TV. I was watching a cartoon show for God knows how long, when I suddenly felt a presence in the kitchen. In the still dark kitchen was Dad. "Daddy, when did you come home?" I said. But Dad, looking down on me, started swearing and shouting like a madman. With ever-intensifying rage, his face turned flaming red and eyes got bloodshot. I was so terrified I could just cry. I was still believing it my dad, so I walked towards him, who was still screaming his head off. Only then I saw another man sitting at the dining table. I didn't know what to do, so I dropped on the floor, cried to exhaustion. When Mom came home, I told her how harshly Dad had scolded me. But Mom said it must have been all but a dream, since Dad wasn't even back from work yet. Finally, years later, Mom told me her experience in the flat. One weekend, I and my brother were already in bed, and Dad was away for his fishing trip. Having a rare moment of peace, Mom was enjoying a long bath. But then somebody knocked on the bathroom door. She first thought one of us needed to pee, but then she realized we never cared about such an etiquette and would have just bursted in. Nevertheless, she opened the door to find nobody there. When she hopped back in the tub, she heard two male voices talking. Look, she's taking a bath."
Yeah, all naked.
"Oh, she'd hear us."
I think she did already.
Then the voices bursted into giggles. Hi, it's Anthony here, and thank you very much for your listening. As I mentioned, a haunted house is a very common theme, and I believe there will be quite a few future episodes dedicated to it. Next episode would be actually also about haunted houses, but in a very specific context. So please don't forget to come back for more next week. If you haven't yet, please consider giving my videos a thumbs up, leaving me a comment, subscribing to my channel, and sharing it with others. I'm still waiting for the day my channel hit that magic number of 1,000 subscribers. Will it ever happen? I'll come back next Sunday as usual. Stay safe and take care till then.